for a podcast that dives into the minds of the relentless hustlers, the game changers, and the unapologetic leaders who've conquered the business world? This is Pushing the Bar, where success isn't just a destination, it's a journey. We'll get into the minds of the relentless hustlers. You're about to get the real and raw truth about the highs, lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the entrepreneurial battlefield. You know, the place where dreams clash with reality and success is earned, not given. Sean has been in the trenches, from a Verizon wireless salesman to building a damn tech empire worth millions.
Damn!
He's seen it all and lived to tell the tale. No sugar-coated fluffy crap here. Just raw, real-world advice served straight up. We're pushing the bar because success, it ain't gonna push itself. Now, here's Sean Torres.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pushing the Bar with Sean Torres. I got some, I guess a close friend and somebody that I've met a few times. I've known Miss Lauren now for, I don't know. I think I met you the first time when we were in like sixth grade. So
sounds right.
That's kind of interesting. And Jared, we met 4 years ago?
Yeah, probably about that long.
Something like that. So I'm excited to have them on the show today. They got some pretty awesome content they've been putting out, and I guess educating people in their world. But they're both very, very driven, successful individuals, and I just think their stories pretty awesome, coming where they came from, and I love to let people hear about these stories of people having great careers and then jumping out the plane with no parachute and kind of building it on the way down. So, I did that at 24 when it didn't matter. Like if I failed it wasn't that big of a deal, but Lauren did it with a family. Jared, you did it with a family. So like, it's a little different, right? There's a little more risk there than what I was going through. I was just ignorant at the time. I guess it takes a little bit of ignorance at some point to be in business. So I'm excited to have y'all. Thank y'all for jumping in. I don't know if y'all want to do a quick intro about yourselves, and I got some questions I would love to pick your brain on. So
yeah. All right. Ladies first.
All right, ladies first. So Jared.
I do have better hair, but I'll let you go first.
Let's just make sure that's known. So I'm Lauren Navarre. So I sit in the seat of COO for Arena Collective. I've been an attorney now since 2010, primarily focusing on business law, and got to join this fun real estate field. And I have a passion about being an attorney that's not an attorney, that's an entrepreneur. And I think when you put those two things together, it's pretty cool. I get excited about growth of business and letting St. Tammany see what businesses can be and what their services and products can do for the community.
Yeah, and my name's Jared Miguez. I tricked Lauren to come work with me 3 years ago, and she always says that the best business owners are the ones that are the most resourceful. And so I feel as though my journey was graduating from law school and just hard-headed, wanted to get into title. Like I really just wanted to do real estate, and I had a couple of opportunities to do some things in insurance defense work and something. I just I knew what I wanted to do. So it took me about 3 or 4 months to actually get a job. And then dove right in. First job, I did everything except being an attorney. I processed files. I did the whole nine. And then I got an opportunity to actually go out and generate some business, and read a couple of books that kind of gave me the bug. And I like setting goals and accomplishing things, and quickly added people to my team that allowed me to continue to grow. I feel like I'm humble enough to know that I can't do everything, and I find people who can do those things with me, for me, and so brought on some really great people. And then a year ago, we decided that we were going to step out on our own and make a really big impact on our local community, which is our goal. And the purpose is for us to create an environment where St. Tammany and our clients can succeed. And so we're, I think we did good. We've done well so far in our first year, and we're looking to continue just keep pushing.
We survived that shit.
That's what it's all about. I think we all play survival mode. I've been doing this 15 years now, and I think it's always I think an entrepreneur just has that fight or flight feeling. I think sometimes I think we all feel like we're failing even though we're not, right? And I think that's what keeps the drive going.
I think it's because we take our standards so seriously. I mean, a real entrepreneur is the hardest person on themselves, right? And so you feel like you're failing because you always want to be the best.
Yes.
You can't get rid of it.
Rabbit holes at home late at night, thinking about everything and what's going to happen tomorrow. And, I try to tell everybody entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and it's okay to not own your business because it is a lot of pressure. If you've ever had to make payroll, Lauren, your dad taught me a long time ago, your dad was a great mentor for me. Actually taught me into buying my first piece of real estate and we did it. And, it's interesting. I'll never forget the first year that I actually showed a $1 million net income. I remember sitting in your dad's office. And for those of you who don't know, Lauren's dad is a great entrepreneur, has a construction company here in our parish. He's just a great human being, individual. He's a badass hunter too, so that's pretty awesome.
He's got a collection on his wall.
I have a collection. I'm trying to catch him right now. So, but yeah, what he told me, it was something funny that I still use to this day. Is I remember showing the net income and then walking in, and Dave looked at me and he's like, "Why you did that?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I just wanted to show that I could make $1 million." And he's like, "Well, who kind of guided you through some of this?" I was like, "Well, my CPA did." And his exact comment was, "Well, how many rich CPAs you know?"
He uses it all the time.
And I just died laughing, and he was so right, and he taught me so much,
he says the same shit about bankers.
Yes, that is a true statement too. He's just been a good mentor, and I think mentorship is critical, whether if it's somebody that's been doing it or somebody new at it. I can tell you, y'all two have been killing the content and putting it out there. I enjoy seeing it. So tell me about that. Like, what got you into putting, like, what came up, what other title company is actually doing content, and I love it,
Well,
no, they're not. This was 2 years ago.
It's all of the typical people everybody sees on social media. I mean, there's two main reasons why. First is, when I got into business, as Gary Vee always talks about more content, there's never enough content. And then the second thing is when you drive down the interstate and you see all these billboards for all these personal injury attorneys, you don't want to be that guy or that girl, but
they want to be that guy or that girl. We don't want to be that guy or that girl.
But my mindset is like, if I'm on the interstate and that's how frequent that they want you to be, that they want to be seen, I want to do the same thing on the internet. I want to be the attorney in the law firm. Like when you get on the internet and you're scrolling, there's value being added to you as you're scrolling through the internet. Good content, entertaining content, educational content. And the bar is so low for social media. I mean, this setup that we have in here was really cost effective. And there's people out there that edit video for relatively cheap. So, I mean, like, we just sit down and have genuine conversation. That's what we want to see, right? We're having a genuine conversation right now and recording this. Right. And that's what we want to hear and see. So we're going to record this, cut it up into small pieces, and share it on social media. So when people walk into our office, they know what our values are. They know what type of people we are. And it's almost like they get an insight into who they're going to get to interact with before they walk in. And so, one, people who don't want to do business with people who think, act, and look like us aren't going to show up. And people that come in the door are probably people that already know that they're already going to enjoy doing business with us. So it kind of gives us a warm handoff. And the bar is really low on the internet. So we're just trying to pump out as much video as we can right now.
Right.
I love
and
it.
Sean, on my end, the idea of being able to show people who I am and how I do business is huge because I've always put myself out there as a different type of attorney, right? And I feel like that's why I work with people and why I get the businesses. I'm business minded. I understand practical solutions. I'm not always going to throw a legal problem in your face. I'm not going to stop business for anything, right? We're going to understand what that risk is, even if it's a large legal risk, and we're going to take action. And you can't communicate that. And you followed my career. I've never gone and worked for the big firms, but I do the big firm work because I do it my way. And so again, you can't communicate that in a magazine, but I can communicate that if somebody asks me a question and they see how I respond to it.
Right. With the experience you have, the experience. I mean, for those listeners out there, Lauren is a badass attorney and cut her teeth in a very large, rapid scale company dealing with international transactions all over in trademarks and like just that experience alone. Like you can't, especially at your age. I mean, you were so young doing that. So like that knowledge is worth so much. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people like working with Jimmy and I is that we cut our teeth young and got wrapped into some very large organizations that had rapid growth. So we've seen what it takes to grow a business and how you can use tech to grow and streamline things, which again, look, of course, growth causes other issues, right? I'm sure you're dealing with that too. I mean, I look at how fast y'all scaled. I mean, y'all went from, how many employees do you have today?
19.
And you did that in how long?
12 months.
Yeah. That's a lot. Like that's faster than we went, right? Like, and it's like, and that's a lot. It's a lot of change. It's a lot of people's emotions, a lot of risk. It's a lot of responsibility. I mean, I think that's what is so intriguing about what you're doing and how fast you did it. Like, and there's other title companies in this market that didn't even come close. And obviously you could see why, right? You're not just boring. Like, here we go. I'm going to walk in this room and just go sign this paperwork and walk out. I never forget meeting with y'all for the first time and your idea of how you wanted to create it and make it this like experience. And it should be like, it's exciting when you're buying or selling a piece of property. I guess it's not always exciting when you're selling, right?
Not right now.
Give me, but look, Sean, but I'll tell you that one of the biggest reasons why we're able to grow this fast is that we chose to diversify the business that we do. Most title companies just want to handle the easy cookie cutter transactions, the first mortgages. I've always loved the more complicated transactions. You can keep all I'll say that we'll take all the easy ones, but we have a process that we follow that just lets those come in and out the door. But the ones that are complicated, these seller finance deals, these ones with these complex curative issues, we are built to handle that kind of stuff. And right now, the title companies that just network in those worlds with easy transactions, they're missing out on all these different ones.
Yeah, there ain't no easy transactions going on right now either. So you're right.
Not much.
But that's not even where we really diversified, though.
No.
We are a law firm that does title work. So we handle
not a title company that happens to have a law firm, and it's a huge distinction on how these other companies operate.
The volume that we have on our law firm is about 3 times the volume that we have on our title company side. People just know us from doing title work over the last couple of years, but we're doing more business consulting, helping businesses with their operating agreements, their contracts, their IP, all that stuff, almost at a faster frequency than our title company. And a lot of people
don't know how important an operating agreement is to your business. Jimmy and I had a $10 million company and didn't even have an operating agreement. And I never forget one day the bank called us and asked for a copy of our operating agreement. And I was like, we don't have one. And they're like, what? I was like, we don't have an operating agreement. And they're like, well, you have to get one.
And luckily for Sean and Jimmy, they have a great relationship around those levels. Most businesses are not that lucky.
But look, but even today, I mean, Lauren, I had a meeting with the original attorney that did the operating agreement today, like making some edits, and not realizing, why don't you talk about that? I think a lot of people that are in business today don't really understand how important addressing, because again, we have not touched this in years. And I was literally renewing a life insurance policy. I'm like, you know what, Jimmy, we need to go back and look at our operating agreement. We haven't even looked at it. And I read through it. And obviously I'm a lot more educated in business today than I was when we did it. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm glad I did that, because I needed to go back and make edits.
I get frustrated because I cannot tell you the number of companies that have worked with somebody else. They're not getting turnaround times. They can't make risk decisions, whatever it may be. And they wind up coming work with me. And when they do, they truly have no idea what their operating agreement says. And it really pisses me off because, I mean, there's just so many attorneys. They want to say $1,500. They put the document in front of you, sign. And are there legal protections? Of course there are. But what people don't understand is you have options when you create your operating agreement. Like, it is yours. And so my method, somebody comes to me, they're like, hurry up, I just need it. And I'm like, if we do this, hurry up, then your ass is putting an hour on the books that you're meeting with me, because we're going to talk about the what ifs. What if you get divorced? What if you get in a car wreck and go on disability? What if you die tomorrow? What do you care about from your legacy perspective? How do y'all want to fight over evaluation of the company, right? Even when there's something that says you have the legal protections, that doesn't mean practically it's going to operate the way that you want it to. And when shit hits the fan and emotions are high, that's not the time to make those determinations. So I like to take two happy people that are excited about what they're doing together. They currently love each other. And I'm the bad guy. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to paint this globe black. And we're going to talk about all the negative stuff and how you would want that to be solved. And I've seen meetings go, and I take both meetings as going excellent. Ones where people decide not to do business together. Mm-hmm. That's a win, because that cost you my hour of time versus a company that you built over 10 years and the hurt and the frustration. And then also the wins where they walk out of there hugging each other and knowing like, thank you for respecting my wishes. And we came to an agreement and we're going to be happy and be able to do business for the rest of our lives together.
Well, setting the right, I think you're right. I think where a lot of people forget, Lauren, and like I can kind of experience share on this. Like Jimmy and I had the Anytime Fitness, the very first business we opened, right? We were 23 years old, opened up a business. It was 3 fraternity brothers that did it, me, Jimmy, and another friend of ours. And we weren't thinking about the amount of energy and effort that was going to go in to get this thing to cash flow, right? I just spent all my money opening this thing up. I didn't have any more money, so I had nowhere to go grab it from. And next thing you know, it's taking a lot more energy and effort. Well, now Jimmy and I are in there working our asses off. And the other partner was like, well, hold up. I just did this as an investment. Like, I'm not putting the work in. And it was like, all right, well, like I couldn't fail because I didn't have someone to lean back on, neither did Jimmy. But like the other partner did. He had very wealthy parents. So like, it was kind of like he didn't really care. So then now I'm in there. Now we're all a third, working my ass off. So like we end up having to buy him out. But like he actually walked away in the beginning stages of the business with more money than what Jimmy and I walked away with when we sold the business 10 years later. Like that's still, and we've rekindled our relationship. Everything's good. But like in the back of my mind, I still think about like, damn, I had to work there for 10 years and he got more than I got.
Learning experience.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. There's a quote Jason and I have on the wall: condemn nothing and everything find edification. Like there is something to learn from every experience. But like you said, when you cut your teeth young, you make those mistakes in that business. Luckily, you're not making it with.
No, not here. Hell no.
Right?
Look, even Jim and I, as close as we are, Lauren, like we have stipulations in our buy sell that it's important to think about that, because you're right. It's great when business is good. It's great, right? And when you start to scale your business and as your expenses come up and debt comes up, you never know. Like I've heard horror stories about people's partners going out and leveraging all this debt on the business and not having protections in the operating agreement. And the next thing you know, you got your partner who's in tax trouble because he didn't pay his taxes. And now you're liable because you're attached it's like a marriage, right? You're attached at the hip and it can affect that business. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. Look, I didn't think about that shit. When Jimmy and I started this, I'm like, oh, we're just going to go sell some consulting contracts. We didn't think it'd be what it is today, right? But the earlier you think about that and put those things into play, because look at you guys. Look how fast you did it in 12 months. Like it happened fast, So like, I think that's what a lot of business owners just don't think about it. Even in a small business, they go get these partnerships and everybody's happy when it's good because it's fun, it's exciting, but it ain't exciting if that bitch ain't making no money and right. You having to fork out money and your partner ain't got no more. And right. Now what? Right? Like your name's on the line.
That's a perfect example. Like I have 3 options that I go through for that exact question. Like I tell them, all right, we're struggling. Everybody's got to bring cash to the table. You want this, or this to happen. And you literally have that round table discussion so that when it happens, nobody's mad because that expectation is set.
Yeah, right. You're right. When you start diluting shares down in a business, and look, owners are going to get they're ego driven and they're going to be pissed off that they're losing, in right. math, right? I mean, if I'm putting in more money than you, it don't matter how much time's going in. The company's got a valuation and I'm going to dilute your shares down. Jimmy and I have that in ours.
Right? You have the option that it's always going to be a loan, but if there's a liquidation event or if distributions are made, that person gets paid back first. You ain't taking any money home, so you got to wait a little longer. Like, again, there's options for each one of those, but it's all about setting expectations. That's all anything in business is. Whether you're successful with your clients, whether you're successful with your partners, your goals, it's setting them, having that clear expectation.
Yes. And it's critical, and as you start navigating it, we just went through that selling the other company, and Jimmy and I stayed in, the other partner went out, and then we had to dilute some shares down because the other partner was picking up the debt. So we had to get very creative in our operating agreement to make sure that I know these guys, but I don't know them like I know Jimmy. So I had
You're not going to take 10 years and just hope it works out.
No. It's too much money, So and that's what, and again, of course I was ignorant. I didn't put any money into, I never put a dime into telecom. The only thing that I put into this company is effort and my time in the beginning. Obviously today I'm putting money in it. It's in the company, right? I've never had to loan in telecom money to get it where it needed to be. Thank God, it was just all hard work. Now, when I go back and look at the time that I put into the business and not making any money, when I went back recently, I was looking at the financials, and Taylor was asking me how much revenue we did year after year, and just kind of looking at growth. And I thought I did more than I thought I did 64,000 in 2009. I actually did $8,000 in 2009 top line revenue year one, and year two we did 60,000. So in 2 years we didn't even break 70 grand in top line revenue, what we were doing in 2 years. So I was like, holy shit. I remember going home telling Shannon, I'm like, I don't know how the hell we even made it from 2009 to 2015. I don't know what in that time frame. I was back looking at Facebook, how the hell did I go on a vacation? I don't even know how that
right?
Yeah. Sometimes you don't, you go through a couple of days without smiling whenever you start a new business.
Yeah.
Couple few days, weeks.
Yeah.
Months, quarters.
I think being the type of person that takes that plunge, as you mentioned, without the parachute, you have to have some kind of crazy or just be a glutton for punishment to an extent, right? To understand that. And I think I always joke with him, or when people ask about us putting up with each other, because we're both intense personalities, it's just we still have the same kind of crazy. So we respect that crazy. And
at the end of the day, it's the same goals, right? And you're going to have disagreements, and it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies, and it is hard. A partnership is a challenge. There are days where I'm sure Jimmy looks and says, what the hell is Sean doing? And I'm sure, and I know on my side it's the same thing. But I think at the end of the day, if you're aligned, and you meet and have an open look, it's like a marriage, right? Marriage goes sideways 90% of the time because people don't communicate and express their feelings on how they're feeling. So Jimmy and I have always had a just open dialogue where we sit down at the table and just look, man, this ain't going right. And here's how I feel. And you got to change this, and you got to work on this. And again, sometimes you need counseling too, right?
Right.
I think even more effective than our operating agreement is the operating system that we put together, which is just how we hold ourselves accountable to the process and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
She always says it all the time. We studied the DISC assessment, but somebody with our personality, the high D, always feels like they're doing all the work all the time. And so when the way we come back and meet every week and go over our numbers, and we're holding, and we're just seeing what everybody's doing, we're on the same page. We're fully aware of the ups and downs, and we know that we have tasks on a weekly basis we have to accomplish, and we all come to the table doing those things we need to be doing. It allows you to kind of go with the flow as the business kind of comes and goes.
You see everybody's contribution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You see that, you respect it. Everybody's roles at all times, because everybody has a very defined role and they're accountable for something very specific. Mm-hmm. Right. And it puts everybody at ease. It takes out the what if, and it takes out the emotion.
Yeah.
Because people, come to me all the time, there's so much emotion in business, and I know there's not supposed to be. And I'm like, stop. There's always going to be emotion in business. We're freaking human.
Absolutely. It's your money. It's your livelihood. Right?
And I want that, because I want the ups that come with it as well. Right. But it's a way of managing the metrics in a business mindset that help manage the emotion, right? And always having a commitment to personal development and a sense of awareness. If you work with people that are self-aware and always want to be better, y'all are always going to be fine. Yeah. Right? It's just a matter of when they get selfish or they're entirely unaware of who they are as a person.
Yeah. She always says, make a business decision and then deliver it with emotion. You need to execute your job with empathy or excitement and emotion, but you plan and make business decisions by using the metrics, using the data, making a plan, and then going out and delivering it.
That's a cry. I didn't know you actually listened to this.
I think it's also, you know, what a lot of people screw up on is it's about compromise, right? And there's going to be there's times where I'll give you an example. I'll give you a really good example, and you'll both understand this. Last week, Jimmy and I were going on a hunting trip, and I got a phone call that they wanted to leave at 7:50 in the morning on a day that we could actually get an extra hunt in. And I was like, well, man, I would love to, but I can't leave at 7:50 because I had another prior meeting. And on my side of the business, I'm handling client relations, all of the government contracts, pretty much sales, right, is what I do. And Jimmy handles operations and makes it happen. And it's always been that way, and we've done well with it. Well, Jimmy has an operational team that is handling things. And there was something going on that I had to go to with a large relationship that I had to miss the morning hunt. And like, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, damn, I would have loved to get up. And they shot a shitload of ducks. Like, right. I was like, damn it. I'm like going to bed that night. Like, I pray to God we shoot ducks the next day. And we actually did. So it worked out well. But like,
well, let me tell you my duck hunting story. So they get invited to go duck hunting. They didn't shoot me birds because I wasn't invited. Naturally, I would have been the better shot. However, maybe one time, you know, then the lady can go show you how it's done. See, Sean knows me.
I believe that, Lauren. I believe that. I will tell you, my wife's a better shot than me. So
I think women usually are a better shot.
Yes, they're more calm. That's why.
Always.
So, but you know, but I think you got to look at those things and like, there's going to be good and bad, right? And there's going to be days where, you know, I'm sure you're having an off day, Lauren, and like screwed something up, and you can't nitpick, because I've noticed like the times where I've nitpicked, it's created things, made it harder, right? And you can't nitpick, and like it's the same thing, right, in marriage. Like I can't come home and nitpick every little thing, because then of course at some point what happens, right? It falls apart. So I think it's about understanding. And I know my dad always told me, son, pick your battles. You know,
my dad tells me that the sooner you learn yes, dear, I'm sorry, the better off your marriage is going to be.
That is true. That's just hard for strong. That's just hard for strong-minded individuals, because that's just not.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for Shannon, you know, but yeah, you know, I think that understanding how to navigate that partnership, and it's clear as day, you know. You are both on the same page and doing things. And look, that's a challenge too, because you both are, like, Jimmy and I are complete opposites, right? He's behind the scenes. If I was messing with Jimmy yesterday when we were about to get on stage and winning that award, and I told my CFO was sitting next to me, I said, Frank, I'm gonna tell Jimmy I'm gonna lean into the mic and say, Jimmy's got something to say. And like, if I'd have done, like, of course, could he do it? Absolutely. But like, that's not his thing, right? I try to get him to do it because I think he should, because I think he'd be really good at it, because he's super sharp and he's super smart. You know, and he's got stuff to say. Like, and I think I've been trying to get him to come on here. Taylor's been trying to get him to come on the podcast too. And eventually I'm gonna get him to come do one with me.
We need to do a double date.
He's going to do it. Give it time.
Yes. And he would do good at it. You know, I mean, he's very intelligent. The things that he's been able to do in his business, you know, I never would be in the place that I am without him. And I think that's what we've understood from the very beginning, is that he couldn't do what I do and I can't do what he does. And we both know that. And like, we're okay with that. Like, it's not about who gets to get the spotlight, who gets this, who gets that. We've never gone tit for tat ever. Like, it's just not something we do. You know,
how did y'all come to determine, or did y'all know each other before y'all started the business?
We did. We were college roommates. So
gotcha. Okay. Y'all knew he's an operations guy.
No, not really, man. I mean, honestly, in the beginning stages, we were like attached at the hip, and like we were just so close where like we would sell together, we would install together, we would service together. Like, we were just kind of.
We accidentally do that sometimes, and we're like, wait, we're both doing the same shit. We got to split up.
Yeah, because it's easy to, right? I mean, it's fun to, like, Jimmy's my best friend too, so it's like I get to work with my best friend every day, and like it was fun, right? So, but then we got to a point where like we started looking at it. Of course, Jimmy is more mechanical, right? He was much better at the mechanics of things than I was. I didn't have the patience for it. I would like get all flustered and like, it just wasn't me. Now, what I could do different is I could walk into a room and with confidence and have a conversation with somebody and get them to do business with us. And that was the difference. And then I will tell you, when the business scaled and we did our first, I think we were 3 years in and we did 1.3 million that year. It was the fact that Jimmy and I made a decision that we were going to divide and conquer. And I was never going to go do install and he was never going to go sell. And like, that's when it started to flourish, you know.
How do y'all's operating system work? Are y'all meeting on a regular basis, or is
They
it?
follow us.
We follow you. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're meeting. We call it the pulse today. We've kind of made it our own. And really Jimmy's done a really good job shifting and designing how one-on-ones are scheduled. The things we talk about, we do a process called MIT, which what are the most important things? And then what are the things that we're working on, you know, outside of our day-to-day responsibility. Of course, it's our jobs to do certain things, right? You can't put that on your MIT. Like I can't put on my MIT, I'm reviewing financials. Like I'm that's my job, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're really getting synergy. And I can tell you, like, we can tell, like, when we fall off from meeting and discussing, like, it creates other issues across the business because him and I start to fall off the same page. And those same page meetings are critical, you know, because you don't want to step on each other's toes. And it happens, right? It's you're going to find yourself doing the same shit. And it's like, oh shit, why are we doing this? You know, we're too expensive to be doing the same thing. We even find that in meetings. Like there's times today where we're getting better at like, well, look, if it's an operational meeting, you just need Jimmy. I typically had screwed them up 90% of the time anyway. So that's where we kind of understood. But yeah, I think.
So how long have y'all operated like that?
We have been on EOS since COVID.
Gotcha.
So
y'all self-implemented, or y'all brought somebody in?
We brought an implementer in. Matt Honey implemented us. Shout out Matt if you're watching. Matt's a great guy. We obviously outgrew Matt in our ability and what we were looking for. And you know, he definitely helped us. I will tell you, it doubled our business the year we did it. And it got a lot of structure. We didn't have structure, man. We were, I call it the caterpillar approach. It was like me and Jimmy and then just a bunch of people that were there. You know, we probably had about 25 employees and we were just like doing everything. And it like was like trial by fire. Like, whoa, shit, we need a help desk. We got people keep calling us that need support. And then we went and started putting people in a room and just said, here, sit at this computer and service these people, you know, and
you're acting like entrepreneurs. I mean,
yes.
Like entrepreneurs will do whatever it needs to do to get done. Sometimes it's not efficient, and you got to go from entrepreneurial to purposeful. And yes. I think any operating system will help you become more purposeful. You just got to be consistent and implement something. And EOS is great because it gives you tools and it makes it very clear. And you can almost read the book and be 75% of the way there. The implementer just kind of comes and holds you accountable. But we use the EOS tools, and we kind of like you guys tweak it a little bit. But I think
that's smart, man. You could get, in my opinion, there's a lot of people that drink the EOS Kool-Aid, and I'm not saying that EOS is a bad thing, because I think it's incredible, but you got to be very cautious on how you implement EOS, because I'm OCD. Jimmy's like a guy that's all in, and we went like all in with it, And some of that shit is bullshit, man, because you cannot run around your company saying that I want to live my EOS life and I want you all to work here and bust your ass and I'm going to go play golf and hire an integrator. Like that nobody wants to go work for somebody that isn't in their business as much as they are. Like me and Jimmy are in this business every day working our ass off. And like,
yeah. I don't know if Gino, when he said the EOS life, when it's like, what is your ideal thing to do? A true entrepreneur is not going to be like, my goal is to sit on a beach. Like a real entrepreneur is there to constantly trying to build their legacy and find opportunities to solve problems and build and do all different things. I think that EOS allows you to get to the point to where your businesses not only operate without you, they grow without you, and then you can build more and add to the puzzle.
That's the business.
Yeah,
everything in arm's reach.
That's you're correct. But a lot of people, I'm telling you, man, I've been in a lot of peer groups and I've been in a lot of their conferences where these people get fixated on this shit that they're going to hire this integrator and they're going to go dick off and not do anything. And it's like, oh, I built my metrics, so now I can see what's going on in my business. And I've watched a business fail because of it. And it's like, you can't, like,
because they need leadership. Businesses need guidance and leadership. And when someone speaks of vision, it's not just an idea guy or gal. It's leadership. And that's what they don't see. That's the part that they're missing when they look at that. I mean, I don't believe anybody that's extreme on anything, whether we're talking about politics, religion, whatever it may be. Like, extreme is uncomfortable because you have to be able to pivot, right? And you have to work around people. People are ever changing. Businesses are ever changing, or should be, right? That's also my problem with the EOS Pure aspect, is like, you attain something. I will never attain anywhere that I want to be. I will constantly exceed goals. I will constantly be excited, but I will never be like, oh, that's done. Let me stop. No, I'll be like, how can I be better? How can I improve this? What new business can I feed? What new business does this generate? You're always thinking of something, and it's ever changing. And so I think that's the two things that confuse people when they want to say, all right, I've achieved some level of some game. It's not a freaking video game.
True entrepreneurs are doing two things. One, they have this level of almost, it's not insecurity, but they're constantly trying to be better. And they're
I think it is a little bit of insecurity, dude. I would admit that. Like, some of it is like, for me at least, like, some of it is like, man, like, I want to be better, and I want to be the best, and I'm insecure about where we are. Like, I'm not ignorant to the fact of issues, right? And EOS will try to teach you to be okay with 80%. And like, I don't know, like, I don't think I'm ever going to be okay with 80%. Like, I'm not going to look now. Look, I think you have to tolerate things in a manner, and I think that is okay. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, well, I'm just going to tolerate 80%, because I don't. Yeah. To me, that's just not who I am. It's not who I'm built to be. I like to go wide open. I like to go real fast. I'm okay with not everything being under control. You know, Mario Andretti said, you're not going fast enough if everything's under control. And I truly believe that. Like, I don't need it to all be under control. I'll be honest. I do a lot better under chaos and pressure, is where I operate the best. When things are all smooth and in and out, like, that's when my mind personally starts going nuts. And I'm like, oh shit, something's about to bust up. Like, why is everything going so smooth? And I think any entrepreneur that I've ever met that scaled their business and really scaled it, right, and boomed this sucker, like, it's not always gonna be under control. Like, and it's
well. So somebody said this one time, that the habits you got where you're at are not the habits that are gonna get you where you're going, right? So you got to constantly be looking to change. But I always say the same thing. Like, I want Lauren as our operations person to build the system. It's my job to break it. I'm constantly looking about how hard I can push to continue to add more to that we have to continue to grow and develop more processes and better processes. And you're right. Whenever shit starts getting smooth, it's like, I'm not doing my job, because there's not enough continuing to push.
It's funny you said it, because that's how Jimmy and I operate. Like, every time Jimmy thinks it's getting easier, I'm like, all right, I got you. I'm about to throw something at you and bust it up. You know, and look, I think
sometimes I do it to myself too.
Well, we all do. I mean, you're a driven individual, right? And like, you try to make things better, and you try to create processes and things. And look, I've had a lot of people, even in our own company, tell us like, man, y'all are always changing. I'm like, think about it though. If we weren't always changing and evolving, like, who in our industry is scaling like we're scaling, not through M&A, like, we're doing this organically and having, 66% growth. Like, no one in our spaces, no one. If someone can challenge me, and I'll show them the revenue difference in what we're doing in the IT space. Like, I go to the conferences, I'm networking with all the other owners, and they see it. Look, me and Don are friends. I love Don Monaster, and I call Don all the time, and I'm like, dude, like, what do you think about this growth? And he's like, dude, you guys are killing it. Like, we take a client from him, he'll call me and tell me like, I'm just glad it was you, and vice versa, because I love them. And I think that's where once you have that drive and that determination, you're right, goals are critical. Like, I tell everybody, like, make it simple. Like, that's really what we did. And Jared, you'll like this. We took the company and said, all right, I'll never forget sitting down and saying like, I want to do 1 million. Like, to me, it just seemed unfathomable to do $1 million. So I was like, I went at home, and I'll never forget when I worked at Verizon, I would take the spreadsheet and I would figure out my commission plan. and I knew how much money I wanted to make. So then I reverse engineered the comp plan, and I knew how to go. I knew what I needed to do to make $200,000. Because to me, I was like, I never had money in my whole life. I'm like, man, if I made $200,000, I'm rich. And I was. So I was 23 years old making $200,000. I mean, not many people are doing that at 23, selling cell phones. And I did that by holding myself accountable to the spreadsheet, right? Like, so when we started to fine tune in telecom and get things going, like I just knew that I needed to do $83,333 a month, and I would make $1 million. So like it was kind of easy. So like I remember taking a piece of paper and like I remember like staring at QuickBooks, and I would like go into QuickBooks every month, and like our P&L was terrible. It just said consulting income, expenses, right? And I knew if I deposited more than I spent, I was in a good spot, right? Like I was just ignorant.
Simple. It's really that is the bottom line.
And that's what we did. I had a guy, my buddy Hans, who owns the Hans Lawnmower Repair. We're in the gym one morning, and he's like, Sean, I really want to grow the business, and I just don't know where to start, and I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, all right, well, like, you know how much money you do every month, right? He's like, I do. I'm like, all right, go take a whiteboard and write on the whiteboard the money you're doing per month, and then underneath it, put a percentage on you want to growth, and be realistic with yourself. Like, don't go in there and say, I want 300% growth, because you're probably not going to do that. But you could put 20%. So now if you're doing 40,000 a month, you got to do 8,000 more each month to get 20% growth. So hold just right on, and every day when you track your sales and what you did, look at where you're on pace to go, and then reevaluate every quarter and hold yourself accountable to those quarterly goals, and you will grow your business. Like, because you're consciously thinking about what is going on. And like, I'll never forget when Angela Fayard first started work here, we were an $8 million company. I never forget, we had just struggled to get to 8 million. And I told Angela, like, I was like, we're going to do 10 million next year. And she laughed. She bust out laughing at me. And she's like, Sean, we don't, I don't know. And she's like, are you crazy? Like, look at what we just went through to get from 5 million to 8 million. I'm like, no, we're going to do it. I'm telling you, we're going to do 10 million. We did 10.5, right? I did the same thing. I just broke it down per quarter, and I held myself accountable. When Frank first started here, like I told Frank, we're going to go from 10 to 15. He looked at me straight in my face. Frank is an incredible CFO, like worked at billion-dollar organizations, super smart when it comes to finance. Frank goes, Sean, we don't have the pipeline. And I was like, all right, but if we have the will, we have the way. And like, let's just hold ourselves accountable. I remember sitting in a meeting, and we were lowering the bar we were sitting in our annual, we were stating they were going to lower the bar from 15 million to 12 million, and still saying, Sean, we're growing 2 million in revenue. And I was sitting there, and I remember sitting there like keeping quiet. And I remember standing up saying, screw this shit. We're not doing that. Like, that's not what we do. That's not what we're doing. Like that's too easy. Like, we did 16.5 million that year.
Nice.
Like, so like, I think people forget that, lowering the bar is not allowed on this podcast. Damn right. You're right. So like, I think a lot of people overthink it sometimes, right? And they don't set the bar for themselves, and they just say, I'm going to go in, I'm going to work hard. But if you're not measuring yourself, like you said earlier, Lauren, like you got to have those measurements to know, like, where's the business going? Now, again, you got to be realistic. You got to be. You can't just say, I'm going to go do 30 million. Like, it doesn't work that way.
So when I do the goal setting, so, like you said, y'all adjust things. So over the, 13, 14 years I've been doing this, and businesses coming to me, every time they have a legal problem, it turned into me being more of a business counsel, right? And that's how I turned into being outside general counsel, coupled with, like you said, that global business experience that I got. So I basically learned their industry, learned their risk tolerance, so that they can come to me with all those questions. And when I'm forcing them to set these goals, rather than saying realistic, I like to talk about them being relevant. And the reason I like to switch that to relevance as opposed to realism is because realistic can seem limiting. So to like your personality, my personality, Jared's, that are high performers that want to achieve and we want to freaking push all the time, realistic to us can be limiting, right? And then to the person like our other partner, like Becky, our managing attorney that runs our law firm, she is an amazing partner for us, and she complements our personality perfectly. But if I say that to her, it gives her a sense of comfort in settling. And I also don't want people settling for goals. If I switch it to being relevant, then it becomes relevant to what your CFO told you about, relevant to the pipeline that you have, relevant to, actual efficiencies. What efficiencies can we create? And then relevant to your purpose and your values. And if you can answer those 4 questions of relevance, then you can actually achieve that goal. So it's all about the person who's setting it and hitting those personalities. So I don't know who you had in your room on your leadership team when y'all were doing your annual meeting, but based on who's in the room, we're going to act a little bit different, right? If we were setting goals by ourselves, we get ourselves psyched out and we'd be like, we're going to have 500 we're going to kick ass, and then we would run through the wall when we left, right? But if I did that with everybody on our leadership team, then it would be like, this is uncomfortable, I'm unhappy. They would leave unsettled and they're not committed to what they're doing moving forward. So I think it's just so important about meeting the people in the room and switching that goal, SMART goal setting. You're familiar with that, right? It's an acronym for the type of goals. Change that R from realistic to relevant. And it's a game changer.
I like that because it should be relevant, right? Because
otherwise,
you're right. Because realistic doesn't mean much to people. What is realistic
to
me?
Different to people is the problem. That's the freaking problem. It's limiting to some and it's comfort for others. And I don't want either thing. I don't want people to be comfortable unless they're comfortable being uncomfortable.
I don't like being comfortable. I'm not good comfortable. I'm not good comfortable at home. Shannon tells me all the time, you don't even sit. Can you just sit down for 30 minutes? But I can't. I don't want to.
You should do that for my friend. You should sit with my friend for 30 minutes. Okay.
I don't even hear all that either. It's just how much money we want to make. Divide that by the number of clients that we need, and by the number of quarters, and how many contacts I need to make with them. If the business is set up the right way, I'm going to go get it. They're going to be okay with figuring out how to handle it once it comes in. Right? That's not their. It's almost not their job. They are relying on me and Lauren to go get the work, and their job is to make sure that it gets done. And they're going to live up to the standard. They're going to live up to the standard that we've created because that's what they want to do. That's how that is their gift. It's not my gift. They got. You asked me to go and do what they do every day, it would not function. We would not have a company. And the goal.
You're right. It takes a team, Jared. that's 100%. You got to have the team, man. I try to tell everybody, and especially for me, I'm not an IT guy. I don't. If you ask me to fix your computer, you're in trouble. I don't know how to do it.
I'm an IT company. Did you turn it off? Turn it off and turn it back on.
Turn it off, turn it back on.
I'm telling you, the last 3, I'll have people, they'll knock on this door and they'll walk in here and be like, Jared, my computer went black. I walk in the room, look under the desk, plug it in the wall, and I walk back in the room. It's 90% of it is just I'm not an IT guy.
That's probably after they submitted a ticket.
Probably after they submitted
90% of the time. And look, I think, and you go on the opposite end of the spectrum too, especially in our space, you get these engineers that overcomplicate it and overthink it instead of did you plug it in? It goes both ways. It really does. And it's a brutal challenge to scale that, and as you continue to scale and as you get more and more and more, it starts to become out of reach. And look, y'all are going to get there. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't see that company stopping and looking at what you did in 12 months, in 5 years, you'll probably have 100 employees, so you think about that and you look at what you're doing. You'll have to evolve. I will tell you that, and that is one lesson that Jimmy and I made mistakes on early in, was trying to keep into all these things. And you can't, it breaks around 35 heads, is what happened to us, and processes and documentation and understanding, how the flow of the business goes. And I'm sure you saw that, Lauren. You were privy to that when you were at Brock Beauty. That company blew up.
And we got up to 78.
Yeah.
And in 5 different countries.
Well, the farther you get from the core people that started the company, the harder it is to keep the culture and keep the mindset and keep the standards in place, unless you have a really, really good system. And like you said, when you add that 36th employee, it's just that one extra person, one person with that's out of culture, out of value, that hides in the corner, and everybody else sees it because you're going 100 miles an hour. Especially me, I'm not always looking at back, and so you get that one person that's out of line, and it takes a second, and then it'll disrupt the whole apple cart.
It does.
Sure.
It does. Yeah, that is super critical.
a value conversation of the individuals that you bring in, right? Jason and I have this quote on our wall, and when I do my initial business coaching, I always say it, but preach the gospel daily, when necessary, use words. Nobody should have to ask you what your values are. They should see it in how you're living and how you're acting. And so again, those visionaries, I think they can step out. That's the mistake, because that leadership requires you to show up every day and live those values so that they see it from the top down, so that they know they can't go hide in that corner.
It gets people fired up. It gets me, like, for me, it gets me fired up. Like, I love coming here and talking to everybody and getting excited. And like Devin, our help desk manager, every Friday gets up and spins the wheel at 4:30, and we have a process that every week all of the individual employees in the help desk, based on their metrics and based on who has the highest metrics. So we put all the metrics on the wheel, and then we spin that wheel, and that wheel hits on the metric. And then whoever had that metric the highest that week, whether it's utilization rate, kill rate, you name it, right, sits on that wheel, and then they get whatever prize spins on it. So it could be 2 days PTO. It could be lunch with the CEO, new keyboard and mouse, new monitors. Like, just, we got a bunch of IT people here. They love stuff like that. And like, they do it every Friday. And like, for me, like, I have all my buddies in business, and they're like, man, you work every Friday. I'm like, yes, I do. Like, I have to. Like, I want to. Like, I like being here. I like this is what I like to do. It doesn't, like, it's not I wake up every day and I'm excited about what I get to do. And I'm not looking at my day like, oh man, like, I got to go to work today. Some days, of course, like, mentally is there, but like, I when I get here, I'm like, it rejuvenates me, and seeing the people and watching their growth and watching sales reps on the phone. I like going to sit there and dial with them. Like, and like, I enjoy that shit. Like,
that's your real high.
Yeah.
It is. Like, you want to get me really excited? Like, let me call someone that never met me and let me try to talk to them. Like, I just like that.
Hey,
like,
it's Bob at the sales desk.
I can't help it. It's just something I love to do. And I think that's what, as an entrepreneur, you have to love what you do, because it's not always pretty, right? I watched a video, and Elon Musk they said, oh, it must be great to be a CEO. And Elon Musk said, well, it's actually quite awful, because all of the highest complex problems, I know about them, and I have to fix them, and I have to figure them out. And the things that not everybody sees, I'm seeing all of it. And it just sometimes can feel defeating, and it's true. Sometimes
it's like awful and awfully rewarding all at the same time.
Yes. Yes. Because it's cyclical, right? And it's not always going to be good. I remember your dad telling me that early in, like, Sean, it's not always going to be good. So make sure you save for a rainy day and be disciplined. And we've stayed, I'll tell you, during COVID, in March that year, we had just moved in this building, spent a bunch of money, and it got real scary. Like, straight up in March, I went negative $400,000. I had never seen a red number, and I'd never seen that before. And I got all these people and these employees looking at me about, like, what are we going to do? I knew I had about 1.8 million cash in the bank. So I'm like, all right, I can ride this wave for about 4 months and it's over. Let's see what happens. And it was scary, right? It was terrifying. And going home and telling my wife, like, Shannon, you got to figure out how we can live with no money. And I remember her looking at me saying, like, what?
And look, 4 months goes by in a blink of an eye too.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, because of what you're doing now is going to show up in 4 months. So like, if you haven't been working your ass off for the last 4 months and you run up against that wall, it's going to take you 4 months to get the momentum going again. So especially in the real estate world, everybody was complaining 2 years ago because the business was so busy. Man, I want to break. Man, I want to break. It's so hard. I'm working so hard. And then the business takes a turn, and now they're having to work just as hard to go back the other way. You got to be your mind be wrapped around the idea that whether you're doing great, whether you're in the bottom of the wave, got to be doing the same amount of work all the time. It's forever.
Yes.
It will never stop.
Never stops.
Until
I don't care how big it gets. It never gets easier. It only gets harder. you know, and Andy Frisella says in one of his podcasts, he states that when things are going very good, you have to bring your team back down to reality and push. And when things are actually going really bad, you have to get in and motivate and push as well. Because it's easy for us to get complacent and say, oh, things are so good. But like I've had people here tell me that, man, we just made, hundreds of thousands of dollars last month and you're still pushing. I'm like, yeah, because what if it's
a downturn?
My response is always, that was last month.
Yeah.
Right.
Why aren't you talking about in 2 months? I don't care what happened then.
It's reality. You have to be forward thinking, and you're right. Like momentum. I tell everybody. I've had so many people tell me in this company, Sean, maybe we just need to slow down and quit focusing on the growth and just fix a bunch of stuff. I'm like, look, if we do that, every company that I've watched do that, they lose momentum, and it's hard to get back to that motivation and moving it. Right. So like I agree, Jared. Momentum is everything, like in business, and it's not going to be perfect.
That's what leaders hold each other accountable to, right? You're holding everybody else accountable to those metrics, but you're holding each other accountable, to that momentum. Because we'll walk in the door and be like, "What's wrong with you? Like in 5 minutes, why are you not?" It's
just like being an employee, right? I tell everybody, and I've told so many people this in my life, is like, $150,000 a year in income is the scariest place in the world, because 150,000, you can have a nice house, you can go on nice vacations, you can live a pretty good life, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And to most people, if you look at the average income in our world, right, like it's not even close to that. Right. But it also keeps those other people pushing forward to do more. But like, when you're getting past that amount and you start making way more than that, like it's life-changing. You can make investments. You can set your children up in their future. You can help other people. You get to donate. Like just last year,
legacy.
We donated last year. We raised for charitable organizations, and even our own money, put it in over $200,000 last year. Like that's awesome. Like, that feels so, when I saw that number, like that made me smile, and like looking at what we're doing for these people and these organizations, like it allows you to do that. And like, I don't think people realize that, like, of course I want to make money personally. Of course I want to do better, but I also love like doing what I get to do to give back to people and like help them. And some of the shit we do, we don't even put out there. We had a church this year that leaned in, that wanted to, they were trying to get book bags for a bunch of students here in St. Tammany. And I was like, well, I remember going to lunch with Pastor Favre, and I said, man, how many book bags do you need to get? And he goes, I mean, I don't know, I said, well, how much money do you need? And he's like, well, 5. And I thought he was like, I said, 5,000? Like, you want me to give you, like, is that what you need? And he's like, no, like $500. And I'm like, well, Pastor Favre, how many book bags do you need? And he's like, he gave me the amount. I said, what if I just went and bought all the book bags? Like, let's quit fighting the battle. Like, I'm willing to do that. I'll go buy all the book bags and I'll get them done. And he's like, yeah, come out with your media team. And I was like, look, man, like, I'm not doing this for that. Like, you're never going to bring me some business. I know that. Like, I just want to be a good person. And like, you're a good person in this community.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, I want to give the kids book bag. I don't need to put it on the internet. Like, it doesn't, and it's not
I like to think of it as how adding way more value to the world than you're receiving. If you just continue to add more value and think, how can I add value all the time? It always comes back to, you don't need
the universe puts it back, man. People forget that shit. And I watch a lot of entrepreneurs, and I reach out to raising money for different things. And they're like, oh, well, we can't afford it right now. I'm like, no, you really can't afford to not do it. Like, you need to get engaged. Like, that's how you get in the buy-in in the community. That's why people want to work with you. If you ask anybody, look at Chris and Dan with Southside and all the good they've done. Look at that restaurant. That place kills it every single day. Why?
It could be raining. It could be a holiday. It doesn't matter. Southside's full.
Every day.
It could be white. Southside's full.
Every day. Every single day. And like,
I was lucky enough to learn that from my dad and my mom. Like, they are
your dad has been that way. And that's where I learned it. Seeing your dad, like your dad still today. Like he's one of the biggest donors to our golf tournament, right? We couldn't get the
poor
shirts that
people
we get to
just wanna
get without
go
your
in and
dad.
get a building, and they don't realize that they have to go through Big Dave's life class to get a building.
Yes. But you know what,
Yeah.
though? It's a blessing, Lauren, because like if I wouldn't have got those lessons early in from your father, like I wouldn't be where I am today. You know, and I'll tell him that all the time. And it just yesterday, Adam Bowen from Legacy reached out to me and your brother, and Pearl River is looking to finish out their locker room, and they're 7,000 short. And Adam texts me, text me and Dave, hey man, we got to come together and get this done. I'm like, done. Let's get it done. Like that's so awesome that we get to impact our community in that manner, you know, and that to me is way better than ever putting a bunch of money in my bank account. Like that just feels good, you know.
That's our value of legacy. One of our values is legacy, and that's how we push it forward. That's what matters to us. And not only like community, but I think sometimes leaders forget the impact that they're making in-house. Like every person that you get to hire, not only are you supporting their family, but you're helping them have a perspective that they may never have been given. Like you said, your perspective came from, you know, randomly wanting to build a building and getting in touch with Big Dave. Like sometimes their aspect of working here and us pushing in their minds what's possible for their families, that's impact that just without owning a business, you don't get to do it.
No, it really is. You know, that's why I said yesterday, our main core value, win. You know, and I remember sitting there when we were coming up with our core values and like we were redoing them. And it was during COVID. I remember saying, you know, what about win? I was actually singing the song in my head, and they were like, what? I'm like, think about it, man. Like if the client wins, the company wins, the community wins. Like it's all hand to hand. So like, and I like to preach that here and explain that to people and what that means and how it impacts. Because I look at, you know, the average income of this organization and the people that work here and the things that we get to do for them. They get to put that money back into the community, and that's why I preach. Go eat at the small restaurant. Go eat at the small business. Look, when we were building our building, everybody said, "Oh, don't use Dave. He's the most expensive in town." But I'm like, yeah, but like, it's not even about the cost. Like, it's about like I'm supporting him and he's supporting me. Like we're all winning. Like I wouldn't be what I'm doing right now without Dave. So like without that, like I wouldn't even be here right now. So like it didn't even cross my mind whatsoever of like to even think like that. I'm trying to save money. You know, I was trying to make sure that like we're working together, and as we all work together hand in hand, like we all win. You know, it's a again win. You know, we all survive that way. You know, so I know we're getting close to our time.
The second thing of an entrepreneur, right? They have that insecurity, but they also constantly looking how they can provide for other people and how they can impact their community. And so, and the relationship part of it.
Yeah, you gotta have a big heart.
30 minutes. I think we had a few things to talk about, huh?
Yeah, I think we went a little over, Taylor. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Yeah, I agree, Taylor.
Look, I was just going to let y'all go. It's, you know, when it's going, it's going.
It is. Well, look, I just wanted to thank y'all. Congratulations and all your success. Like I knew from day one, Lauren, when I met you, you would be successful no matter what. You know, you got a great mentor as a father, and you got a lot more to go. So exciting. You know, when I talk to Jason all the time, I'm like, man, it's awesome to watch Lauren and watch what she's doing. And I'm just proud that you went out on your own and just took the leap of faith. You needed to do that. You're too talented to not do so and impact the community like you're doing. So, Jared, I'm sorry. I'm giving Lauren all the credit, but
no, dude, like I said at the beginning, resourceful.
Yes. Surround yourself with very good people, and you will win. So, and Jared, you've done well too, man. I see that. Like again, you guys have, you know, you couldn't do it without each other. So, if anybody's looking to connect with Lauren and Jared, you got it on the screen there. You know, checked out arenacollective.com. Lauren is a badass attorney. So if you have business questions, she's a good person to lean into. I love the fact that they're getting into that world and doing some consulting because I think the world needs it. Check us out on Pushing the Bar. You can scan the QR code there and subscribe. We got great content coming out. We got some more badass CEOs that are going to be coming on and talking through some things in their story. So, again, thank you. Check them out. Definitely on LinkedIn, TikTok. You have a TikTok? What else do you have?
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and
the YouTube Shorts.
Yeah. We don't, and we
Your
have our
content is incredible. It's good. It's not stupid information. It is actually real information that will help you in your business. So I watch it all the time. So I think it's important to get that out there. Y'all are killing it with that. I need to do more of that. Taylor, we need to do more shorts. So because their shorts
Right,
are
I'm
freaking
calling
awesome.
you next week. If I don't see any, I'm calling you next
Yes.
week.
Yes. We need
We'll make
to
it
do
happen.
more. Well, good. Well,
All right,
thank y'all very much. Y'all have a great week. Rest of your week. Thank y'all.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.